What is up, gamers? FCast and Chill here. In the last episode of our Grandmaster series, we finished up every combat achievement other than raids, and we had to do some painful grinds like going extremely dry at Huey Codal, but we got it done, and now all that remains between us and our Zuckhelm is the 3 raids. So this episode, I'm actually going to try to complete every combat achievement in both the Tombs of Amascut and the Chambers of Xeric. Since, I'm very familiar with both of those raids, I've already grinded them a lot in solos. And so I'm going to be doing both of those, and then hopefully we're going to wrap that up and move on to the Theater of Blood next time. So we're going to start off with just some of these easy combat achievements that I just never actually bothered to knock out when I was doing my grind for Shadow and Tebow. So the first of which is going to be Chompington. So this is going to be just defeating Zabok using only melee attacks and without dying. This actually only needs to be done on a 150 instead of a 300, so it's actually pretty straightforward. Essentially I just start the fight off using a couple BGS specs to get his defense down, and then I just use my Fang and make sure to step back after I attack him so that I don't get chomped, because he will hit you really fucking hard. During the enrage phase at the end, I go a little bit slowly, making sure that I have time to put on Protect from Melee each time I attack him. But that is it, there is Chompington knocked out. Now we're going to move on. Next we're going to be working on the combat achievement No Skipping Allowed. This is defeating Baba with only attacking the non-weakened boulders during the rock rolling phases. So typically there will be a boulder that's already weakened and you'll attack those to run through, but since we can't do that for this combat achievement, we're going to have to kill the other boulders. Or alternatively, you can just tank the boulders and spam click food. So I didn't realize how this combat achievement would be pretty difficult if I didn't have an inventory full of supplies at first. So I actually just went in with a 150 raid and tried doing it normally. And then I realized I just kept dying because I was trying to kill the boulders without, just spam clicking food. And eventually I just kept suiciding in Baba intentionally and built up a nice stack of honey locusts. Then I essentially cheesed this combat achievement by just spam clicking food as the boulders crushed me. And after doing that for all the boulder waves, then we killed Baba, and there we have No Skipping Allowed. Little cheap way to get it, but it worked. The next combat achievement I'm going for in the Tombs of Amascut is going to be Butt Damage. So this one is essentially not using any weapon or gear, level 75 or higher. So this means you can't use a Fang, you can't use a Bofa, or even a Trident. So I'm actually using Iban's staff, I have a Zamarakian Hasta, and a normal crystal bow, as well as an Armadillo crossbow. So this is going to be a little rough because this has to be in an expert ToA, so 300 plus. But I'm going to go ahead and do this solo. I did have a goal to do all the combat achievements in the raids that you can reasonably do solo by myself, so I wanted to knock this out. So yeah, we're going to see how it goes using these shitty weapons and just hope for the best. My strategy at Zabok is going to be just camping the Armadillo crossbow until he gets pretty low in HP, and then I'll switch over to the crystal bow. I did bring some ruby bolts in, so hopefully if we're lucky we can get some ruby procs off and it'll help speed up the fight considerably, because this is going to be a pretty long fight doing a 300 with just an ACB. But we'll see how it goes. At one point I forgot the ACB doesn't have as much range as Bofa or Tebow, so I get dragged forward into the wave here a little bit and almost die. But we're just going to ignore that and pretend that didn't happen. Other than that, going pretty smoothly so far. And there's a ruby spec that we got off, so that's going to help out a lot. And then we got one more ruby spec off here to help enter the enrage phase. Then after that we switch over to our crystal bow and just continue the fight and hopefully wrap it up pretty quickly. After a lot of prayer flicking and almost dying, we finished Zabok in just under 5 minutes, so actually not too bad. Now we're going to move on to Kephri. Doing Kephri in a 300 is a little bit of a pain in the ass without a Fang, but other than, having less damage, there's nothing really unique about this fight. It's kind of the same as what I've been used to when I was grinding for my Shadow. So we're just going to camp the Z Hasta, and after a while, I did finish the Kephri fight. You could see that it was approximately 6 minutes, so pretty long, but again, that's probably the easiest boss in ToA. Now we're going to move on to Akka, and this is going to be a challenge because I only have an Ivan's staff, but we'll just see how it goes. So I end up just doing this typical butterfly method that you would with Shadow, except using Ivan's staff instead of Shadow, because they're both 5-tick weapons. So, you know, it's going to be very slow, since Ivan's Blast kind of sucks compared to Shadow, but you know, I mean, at least it's going to be doable, right? Like, I'm pretty comfortable doing the Shadow Butterfly, because I did have to grind quite a bit of ToA after getting my Shadow before I finished my Masori top. But we're just going to keep butterflying and hope for the best. I think we have plenty of supplies, so I'm not too worried about running out. I just need to, you know, make sure I'm not making any huge mistakes. And after quite some time with no, you know, catastrophic mistakes, we did get to the enrage phase here, and so we're gonna hope that this goes pretty quickly. I brought a DDS to spec Akka down and hope that, you know, that'll actually kill him pretty quickly, because using a Z Hasta here may take quite a while. Unfortunately, my Dragon Dagger specs did not hit too well. You could see the first two missed. I did end up hitting okay on the third one, but after that it was pretty garbage. Almost died there from these cum balls. But again, I'm pretty comfortable with the cum phase when I'm focused, so just went back to using my Z Hasta and eventually did kill him. It ended up being a 7-minute 30-second fight, so pretty damn slow, but you know, good enough. We're still doing pretty great on supplies for now. So now moving on to Baba. And Baba's probably the easiest boss in this challenge if you're comfortable red Xing, because the fight doesn't change at all. You just red X with the Z Hasta instead of the Fang, so it just takes longer. But no real challenges with Baba here. And after about 30 minutes total, we're going to be choosing life from here to get a lot of supplies, and then move on to fight the Warden. So yeah, hopefully we'll have plenty of supplies here. I think it should go okay as long as I don't make mistakes, but again, it's going to take a while because my gear's pretty garbage. During the P2 Warden fight, it felt like it was taking forever to get the downs, especially when I had to use the magic from the Ivan's Blast. But we did still get a 3-down P2, and we're pretty much smooth sailing right now. And after a very long P3, where we used the ACB early on in the fight and then the Crystal Bow later, we just enter phase 4 and just camp the Crystal Bow and hope for some decent RNG. And we wrapped it up and got the kill in just a bit under 15 minutes for Warden. So about 50 minutes for the raid in its entirety. Pretty long and slow, but that was a fun challenge. You know, glad to get the combat achievement done. We're moving on now. And now we're moving on to some of the hard stuff. So the next ToA combat achievement we're doing is called I'm the Boss. And this is where you have every single boss invocation active and get the kill without dying. So we're going to be doing this solo. I activated all the boss invos, and that puts the invo at 310. So not too high, you know, I've done way higher than that solo for sure. But some of this is going to be a little challenging, mainly because of Kephri and Akka. So Kephri, if you have all of his invocations active, there's one called Medics, where continuously throughout the fight, you'll have to deal with these bugs spawning, and you have to make sure you shoot them, or they will heal Kephri for insane amounts of HP. So essentially, the entirety of the Kephri fight, I just have to keep switching to my ranged weapon periodically, and making sure that I'm dealing with these bugs. Really, I should have brought my Bofa for a nice 4-tick weapon, but I'm stupid, and I was just using my Twisted Bow to deal with them. Overall, though, you know, since it is only a 310, it's not nearly as bad as it could have been. It did take me quite a while, but, you know, as long as you stay on top of killing the medics while doing everything else, then this boss, I'm the Boss achievement for Kephri was not too hard. Again, long Kephri fight, almost 7 minutes and a 310, but we did get the kill. So moving on to Akka, this is the one that I was worried about was going to give me some struggles, because with Akka, there's a couple invocations that I'm not used to using. So there's one called Double Trouble, where he'll do both of his specials at the same time. So you have to dodge the balls that are dropped while doing the memory puzzle. And then there's also keep back, which means whenever Akka does his other attack styles, he will also melee you. So that's a bit challenging as well. If we butterfly perfectly, though, it shouldn't be too much of an issue, so let's just see how it goes. And overall, the butterflying went pretty well. I was able to deal with double trouble without really any issue. And we did get the Akka kill way easier than I thought it would be. I still have a shit ton of supplies here. And yeah, I think we're moving on now. That was pretty straightforward. So nothing really to call out with Baba, pretty typical Baba fight. So we're going to move on to Wardens and just wrap this up. Because, I'm used to doing Insanity and all the Warden's invos, so it was no trouble for me. And there is I'm the Boss combat achievement done. Pretty nice to get it on one and done. Next, we're going to be doing the combat achievement Doesn't Bug Me. So this is kind of similar to the one we just did, but it's Kephri specific. So you need to kill Kephri with all of the invos on, but you also have to have the path leveled up till 4 or higher. So the way I did this is I would start a raid and kill Zabok and hope that Kephri's path level would get raised up to 4 after killing Zabok, and then go fight Kephri. So this actually took me quite a few tries, just because with a level 4 Kephri, it is a bit challenging to have that medic, invocation active, and I did need to get some practice at it. I was bringing my Bofa here since it's 1 tick faster than the T-bow. And so I was switching to my Bofa to kill the different, bugs that were flying toward Kephri during the fight. You can see I've also tagged them so that it's very easy to identify them as soon as they spawn. But the challenge here is, it slows the fight down significantly when you're having to stop to kill these bugs repeatedly. And so you're going to have to be very smart with your mud placement and make sure you're not crowding the entire room before you can kill Kephri. After dying a few times, just learning the basics of this, I did end up getting the combat achievement, and theirs Doesn't Bug Me, not too bad at all, and that was with a 7-minute Kephri. So just to up the ante a little bit, after doing this, since I had been practicing it, I tried to get a solo Fang kit with Kephri. And so the way to do that is essentially what I just did with the Doesn't Bug Me achievement, but it has to be on an Invo 450 or higher. And then if I finish the raid without dying, I will get a Kephri transmog for my pet. So let's see how that goes. So here we are with a solo Kephri at Invo level 450, level 4. And so again, we're going to do this just the exact same as we just did. It's just now this is a 450 instead of a 300. So there is a lot less room for error. We're going to have to be very smart with our mud placement, or else we'll completely crowd the whole arena. I'm also going to try to be walking as much as possible with control so that I don't end up running out of run energy. I did bring a stam just in case, but I would prefer to, save that if possible. But yeah, this is going to be hard. This is going to be a very long fight, since anytime I let one of the bugs in to heal Kephri, it's going to make it take significantly longer. And, Kephri just has so much more health on these 450s. So we'll hope for the best and see how we do. About 6 minutes in or so, because of all the mud, I actually messed up the placement for trapping the ranger minion on the second wave, so I equipped my shadow and tried to deal with him as quickly as possible. I didn't have my heart with me though, so the shadow actually kind of sucks since I'm not salted either. And this took way longer to kill him than I was hoping, dragging the fight out even longer. But ooh, look, I hit a 61 there. That's pretty nice. But yeah, I did eventually kill this ranger and still had the mud in pretty good spots, so I'm feeling pretty good. This was after already the second phase, so I'm thinking that we'll be able to get it. And we are now 11 and a half minutes into the fight and still have a lot of room for space. I think that we should definitely be able to do this if we don't make any mistakes. But yeah, you can see all that mud over there. I haven't been the most efficient with it. There's still a lot of gaps there, but I think it's been good enough. So yeah, 12 minutes in the fight now. Just need to make sure I keep killing these healers, and hopefully we'll have it soon. And after 13 minutes here, I do misclick, and I accidentally get trapped in the mud here. Right when this happened, it was really fucking scary. And I just had to equip my shadow to try to deal with Kephri because I couldn't fang him anymore. So just moving back and forth. We have barely any room at all in here. I was trying to Bofa him at first and realized it wasn't working, so then I switched to the Shadow. And you can see I have no room now, so next blast that comes is going to kill me. But that Shadow hit got him, and so right at the end, even with that awful mistake, recompleted doesn't bug me again, and now we finished a 450 and I haven't died. So then we go on and we finish the raid, and that is a solo Kephri kit. Not related to the combat achievements, but kind of a cool little, I guess, accomplishment that I got for myself. So now I have all of the kits that I got solo in ToA, so that's pretty cool. Now we're going to move on and do a few of the other combat achievements that are technically supposed to require 2 people, but I'm actually just going to log into my alt and use that on the side and try to knock them out myself. The first of these combat achievements that I'm supposed to get in a duo, but I'm doing solo, is going to be the Perfection of Het. So this is going to be in a 300 plus invo raid. I need to get both Perfect Het and Perfect Akka at the same time. Perfect Het is essentially just the mining puzzle before Akka. All you have to do is make sure you get a 1 down and nobody gets hit. So I had my other account here, and I would just bring it in with me, and then I would make sure at the right time to click the obelisk on both of my accounts to ensure the 1 down. That part was pretty easy. For Perfect Akka, after that, I would have to essentially kill Akka without anyone taking any hits from anything, as well as you can't attack Akka with the wrong attack style. So if he changes his prayers, you have to make sure to change your weapon before attacking him, or that will fail it. So this was giving me a lot of trouble. It actually took me quite a while to get this one, surprisingly. I thought it would be a lot easier. You know, first of all, doing a 300 and a party of 2 solo with your other account just sitting outside does make it take a lot longer. And, you know, there's just really no room for error. So using the Shadow to Butterfly did help out a lot, but you know, it's just very punishing. There were multiple times when Akka would change his attack style, and then I would just at the wrong time, you know, click on him to attack, and then I would fail the combat task. So, you know, this happened over and over again. I would, you know, make other mistakes too, get hit off prayer. You know, it was taking quite a while, again, longer than I expected it to. Eventually, you know, we did get through. I had to bring stams myself too, because, you know, we wanted to make sure we didn't run out of run energy, since I'm not salted for this, since I'm just going in and doing Akka first. Eventually, we did get through the main part of the Akka fight and made it to the come phase with all the white balls. And then the problem here is, again, I have to do this without getting hit by any of these balls until he dies. And again, you know, with a party of 2 and a solo 300, this phase is pretty fucking long. So I use my Dragon Claw spec and then switch to my Fang and just hope for the best and just try to play it very safe and not rush it. Unfortunately, the first time I made it to this phase, I did get hit here, and you can see that failed the Perfect Akka task. Really unfortunate, but you know, I was a little bit out of practice with ToA compared to, you know, when I had been doing my Shadow grind, so I didn't expect it to get it first try. But you know, we did wrap up the kill with only getting hit that one time, so almost. We're just going to keep sending attempts and hope for the best. And soon after that, we got the exact same thing happening. We made it to the come phase and got hit by a ball because I'm bad at the game. Gotta keep going. And it happened again. It would really help if I wasn't actually bad at the game. And then finally, after about 2.5 hours of attempts, we did have a successful come phase. I didn't mess up for once, and that feels really good. 2 combat achievements there. I got Perfect Akka and Perfection of Het. So it's actually funny, my alt got them as well, even though it was just sitting there outside the raid. But yeah, knocked those 2 out. Those were a big pain in the ass. I'm really glad to have those done, and we're going to move on. Next, we're doing the Perfection of Apmekan, which is similar, but instead of the Akka puzzle room in Akka, it's Perfection of Baba, essentially. So Perfect Monkey Room, as well as Perfect Baba. And so this I thought would be pretty challenging since, you know, for the Perfect Monkey Room, you have to do it in under 3 minutes. And in a solo, when the other guy's sitting outside, it's a little frustrating. Also, I actually didn't understand the monkey room mechanics at first in a team raid since I had only done solos, and I quickly learned that whenever you have to repair the pillars or drop a potion in the vents, you have to do one for each person in the raid. So I would have to actually repair the pillar twice or drop 2 potions in the vent for it to happen successfully. Once I figured that out, though, then the monkey room was pretty smooth sailing. It's actually not all that bad. And I was pretty consistently clearing it with times just under 3 minutes. You can see I got a 2:59 here. So there's another perfect at Meccan. But again, right after that, we have to make sure we do a perfect Baba as well. And after some attempts, we did get it. This one actually wasn't too bad. It was just a little scary because the boulders had more HP when you have another person just sitting outside the raid. So I couldn't one-shot the boulders, but, it's still not that bad. Just had to make sure not to fuck up the rest of Baba. And there we go. There is perfection of at Meccan. So that is another 2-person combat achievement that I got solo knocked off. Next, we're going to move on to Fancy Feat. Fancy Feat is just completing the Warden in a group of 2 or more without anyone dying and without using anything except melee for the last phase of the fight. You also have to have the Insanity invocation active. So this actually wasn't too bad. I was still going in with my ult and just had him, log out essentially during Warden so he wouldn't be in the raid. And then once I got to phase 3, I just, hit with my BGS, and then I would just sit with my Fang and just make sure that I was hitting Warden and not making mistakes. This was actually quite a bit easier than it sounds, if you have a lot of Warden experience. I will say that, in the solo 300 with a +1 sitting outside, the very last phase 4, did take quite a while, but you can see I have a lot of experience there, so it wasn't too bad. Just kind of running back and forth with my Fang, making sure to not get hit too much. And that is Fancy Feat completed solo after a very long Warden fight. Feels good. Now we're going to try doing Perfect Wardens. So Perfect Wardens is again in a 2 or more person party with all the Warden invocations turned on. Beat the Wardens without taking any avoidable damage. So again, this is going to be a long fight since I'm in a 300 1+1. But again, I have a lot of Warden experience, so I was able to do it fairly quickly. The worst part of this combat achievement was actually getting to the Wardens in a 1+1 because all the boss fights took a lot longer. So it was a pretty long raid, ballpark of 30 minutes plus just getting to Warden. But once I did that, I actually got it knocked out first try. Really not bad at all. Perfect Wardens. Just, don't make mistakes. It's that easy. That also gave me the combat task Insanity because I didn't have that as well. So yeah, we actually have almost all of the ToA combat tasks now. There are 3 more that I need to do. And so Perfect Scarabus is one of them. And this one I did try to do in a 1+1, but it just was not happening. I don't really think you can do it in a 1+1. It's the Kephri equivalent for what I did with Baba and Akka earlier, where you get a perfect Kephri without a perfect puzzle room as well as the perfect Kephri without making any mistakes. And this includes you have to crack all of the eggs when Kephri spits out eggs. So I just think you can't do that solo. You have to have someone else in the raid with you. And so I got my good friend Ass Captain to come help me out. Me and Ass Captain are going to be doing a lot of ToB in the future, as you'll see in the next video. So big shout out to him. But me and Ass Captain were able to knock out the perfect Kephri. It took us more tries than we'd like to admit because we both had really only done solos, and so we were making some small mistakes that we're not used to from there being 2 people in the raid. But it was still pretty quick. We knocked it out and got the perfect Scabarus, so that is it. Now, we also got the All Out of Medics combat achievement, which is just killing the scarabs as they fly towards Kephri during the, phase when she's down. So with all that out of the way, the only thing we have left in ToA are the speed times. And so the challenging thing about the ToA speed times is one of them is you need to complete an 8-man expert ToA in 18 minutes or less. And first of all, it's hard to just coordinate anything with 8 people, especially 8 people who have near max gear and can actually help out with this combat achievement. I will say though that I did not want to pay for any of my combat achievements in getting GM. I felt like that was kind of goes against the spirit of Ironman, or at least, you know, if I'm making a YouTube series, it'd be kind of lame to just be like, and then I paid some gamers to help me out. So I didn't want to do that. But luckily there is a streamer that you all probably know, Mulgoat Kirby, who is basically the GOAT, and he occasionally does 8-man TOAs on stream. And so I was lucky enough to be invited to join one of these when I was watching his stream. And so I was able to gear up for this, and we were able to do the 8-man TOA time. Unfortunately, I was having internet issues this week, and it was really struggling. I know it sounds like an excuse. Like I told him like, oh, hey, I'm having internet problems, so sorry if I fuck up the raid for you guys. But just to prove that I'm not full of shit, I did put the latency graph on my client here, and you could see all these pings to, you know, 700 plus ping, it like repeatedly continued to happen. So I was really struggling internet wise, and I did make a couple small mistakes in the raid because of that. But I did my best. You know, I even have ping spikes over a full second, as you can see, but I did do my best to not fuck it up for everybody. And with the horrible internet issues, I was still able to get through the raid. And somehow I didn't even die, even at Warden, which I was actually shocked at because, you know, with these ping spikes, I was expecting insanity to totally fuck me. But just spam clicking and hoping for the best that the ping wouldn't fuck me over too much, I was able to do it. Huge shout out to Kirby again for, you know, setting this up. And it was pretty fun to just zoom with a bunch of gamers with shadows. And we got it one and done, very easy. Absolutely crushed the time, beat it by over a minute. And that is a TOA green log. So now I have finished every Tombs of Amascut combat achievement. Actually pretty wild to have those knocked out. Some of those were pretty hard, especially doing them in 1+1s, but feels fucking good. Thanks again to Kirby for that. And of course, Ass Captain for helping out with the Kephri combat achievement. All right, so now we're going to move on and wrap up the Chambers of Xeric in this episode. So for the Chambers of Xeric, I actually already had almost all of the combat achievements except a few. So since I had gotten a T-bow and a shadow, since I had done my very long CoX grind, when I went back, the solo Grandmaster CM time was actually a joke. If you have a shadow, you just click bosses and they die. And so I've done a sizable amount of CMs since getting my shadow just to mess around with it. And it's actually, I'm averaging faster than the Grandmaster time. So it's a complete joke once you know what you're doing. But essentially all I had left now after doing that was the team-based CoX combat achievements. So the first one we're going to knock out is Perfect Olm Trio. And you can actually do this by just scaling up your raid to a trio and then going in by yourself and doing a Perfect Olm. So of course I had to do that since I want to do all these combat achievements solo if I possibly can. And so the solution for that is, you can see in my inventory here as I'm about to go into Olm, is you just bring 4 stampots. You're going to be doing a shit ton of running. I'm just going to run 1-0 on the melee hand for each phase. And we're just going to, you know, take our time. For the shadow too, I'm doing this like really cheap method where I'm essentially just, you know, walking and losing ticks, but attacking continuously. And so it was a very long Olm fight, but not efficient at all. Definitely losing lots of ticks, but the goal was to get a perfect Olm, and we did do that one and done. It was about a 20+ minute Olm fight, but no real mistakes. And there it is. There is Perfect Olm Trio that I got in a solo. So that's pretty exciting. Never lucky and didn't get rewarded with the purple, but hey, I mean, whatever. Got the combat achievement. So now all I have left in CoX are the 3 and 5 man normal chambers speed times, as well as the 3 and 5 man CM challenge mode speed times. And so I had never done any team CoX at all. So I had to figure out how to do that and essentially get some people in my Ironman clan to come and help me out with these. And so that's what we did. So last episode I mentioned there was a guy in my clan named Champ who helped me out with the Huey trio time, and he's going to be helping out with a lot of these CoX raids. He's one of the Zuckhelm Chads in my Ironman clan. So me, him, and Fritch were going with the trio time. I had no idea what I was doing at all. Didn't know the inventory setup. Didn't know how to do anything, essentially. But we just kind of clicked boss, used our specs on Tecton to get his defense down, etc. For the tightrope room, I just equipped the P-neck and prayed for the best. And we were actually going pretty fast, even though I had no idea what I was doing. Definitely losing some time here and there, and maybe the crabs room could have been a little bit better. It wasn't perfect, but we got to Ulm on a decent pace on our first run. The problem with Ulm is I had no idea what to do in a team Ulm, and for parts of it I was just trying to run the head solo as if I would in a solo, and this got me hit a lot more than I should have. I even died during this Ulm because I had no idea what I was doing in teams. I didn't really have the whole concept of like setting the head and just running it back and forth in the middle explained to me. So you can see I died here, but just ran straight back in and just started clicking the boss again. And we actually got the 3-man speed time on our first try. We beat it by just 2 seconds. So it was 14:30 for the Grandmaster time, and we got a 14:28. So huge shout out to Champ for carrying the hell out of me there. But yeah, pretty smooth actually, given that I had a death on Ulm. So then we moved on to the 5-man time. And so again, we got Champ as long as a couple other guys from my clan. We got Vern, Average Idiot, and Sidetrack. And so again, huge shout out to them. This time it went a little bit smoother. They actually explained to me some of the stuff I had to do. We didn't get as fast of a raid as we could. We did have some mistakes in the early rooms for our first attempt, just because we're not used to raiding together and hadn't done it very much. But I died on the tightrope because I'm an idiot. But we're gonna ignore that and just say that this first raid attempt didn't happen. But we did get the first kill, and it was not super slow. We at least got the master time at 13 minutes, but we're gonna have to go a lot faster to get the Grandmaster time for the 5-man. So we go back in, and this time we have a much cleaner raid. We take Tecton down like immediately. Vespula just gets shredded, and we're just zooming. The tightrope actually goes well, and then we get into Ulm on a great pace in about 5 minutes, and we actually run the head properly. I do still die because I'm stupid and still not used to teams, but when you have 5 people with close to max gear, you kind of just click boss and it dies. And we got the kill in just over 11 minutes, so well over the time required for the 5-man time. So that is the 5-man speed CoX time done as well. And so now we're going to move on to the challenge modes. So first is the 3-man speed time, and so again I'm here with Vern as well as Champ. And so both of them have a lot more experience speedrunning CMs as a group. I've done a shit ton solo, but haven't really done the team ones as much. So we're just going to see how this goes. And apparently you can just absolutely shred Ice Demon if you bring the right spellbook, which I had never done before. So that's kind of cool to see. But yeah, the rest of the room's pretty smooth. You don't want to prep too much for these trios since there are a lot of supply drops, but you still want to get some. We're just zooming through everything. It really helps having 3 people with, near max gear, like I said. And we just rush through the raid, still not completely knowing what we're doing. Vern explains to me how to run head and Ulm on teams here, so it actually goes a lot better than the Ulms were on the normal CoX that we were doing. And we end up getting the kill in the 3-man with a bit of time to spare, so we got 16:21. So not bad at all. Got the GM time done there. And then we're going to move on to the 5-man. 5-man, we got some more gamers joining us this time. We got Kindu, Liquor Smurf, and Ass Captain joining me and Vern. Again, like I said, you're going to see Ass Captain a lot. He's my raiding buddy. But me and this team do zoom through it pretty well. The first attempt, actually, we don't quite get it. We miss it just barely. But second attempt, it goes much smoother. We actually hit our ZGS at the mutadials too and freeze them, and then can just kill them without chomping the tree, and that saves a shit ton of time. Kind of cool, since I've never done that in a raid, but I know people in solos also do the same thing, freezing them. But again, yeah, just kind of click boss, have people with good gear, and that's it. So these CoX speed times were actually a bit of a joke. I don't expect the ToB stuff to be nearly this easy, but that's it for CoX. Just knocked out some speed times, and it did take us about 5 attempts total for the 3 and 5 man and CMs. So my CM kill count is a little bit tainted now, and I have 5 that are not solos. So that means when I go back and do my 2,000 solo CMs total, I'm going to have to get up to 2,005 kill count. But we'll worry about that later after the Zuck Helm. So that's it for these 2 raids. Pretty long episode here, going through a lot of various combat achievements, but it feels good to get these knocked out. Shout out again to everyone who helped. And we're going to be moving on to the Theater of Blood. I've been running a lot of ToB with Ass Captain and gotten pretty good at the raid. So I'm hoping that we can knock out a lot of these combat achievements and not have to worry about it too much. But we'll see how it goes. So I will catch you guys next episode, and we'll get very close to wrapped up. All we have left is ToB and hard mode ToB. Alright, well thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. I will catch you guys later.